Look at this newsroom page. Welcome to the Cracker Barrel News. Right in your face. So, all right, guys, we're going to talk about Cracker Barrel today and when a brand takes drastic moves to change their entire look and feel, or in this case, I would say more refresh or update it. So, Cracker Barrel has done a major revision to their brand, and it has caused a firestorm of opinions. Everybody is up in arms, and it is very fascinating to watch if you're like someone in my shoes. So I'm having some fun with this. So, all right, here's my take. I haven't really had time to let this all sink in. There's a lot of different things to cover here. So, first off, I can understand why people are upset. You've got a brand that's been around for decades and you have memories tied to it. Road trips, going there with grandma and grandpa, running around in the store, playing with all the things and all the food, the comfort food and everything. And now there's been this shift. They took the cracker and the barrel out of the logo, right? And the main kind of shape around the word mark up there, it looks like it's kind of a bean or something. I don't know what it is. I have no idea. I'll have to look into it. I've always wondered what the heck that shape is. But people like this. Got Old Country Store. Well, now that's gone. We got rid of Old Country Store. We got this new logo, and it does look like a barrel that's turned onto its side. So the designer was trying to be very clever with that. And they were going for simplicity. They wanted something simple. Why would you do that? So you look at something like this and you say, okay, the soul has been stripped from the brand, which I don't always think is true. So when you think of a logo, think of it like a face. And when you see a face, you instantly recognize someone. Even if they wear different clothes, you still recognize the face, right? And it's like Nike. You see the swoosh, you can put the swoosh on all these different athletic images, and you go, oh, that's Nike. And so it's important to understand, and I have to explain this to clients sometime, that the logo does not need to do the heavy lifting for the brand. It does not need to tell this deep and lengthy story. It doesn't need to have all these different things. It just needs to be recognizable. You should recognize it like a friendly face. So going to this more simple version, I think there's a little bit too much negative space around it. That would be my one critique. I like how they kept the C and the B, and it's a newer font, but if you saw both of these and then looked away, you'd probably think the fonts were almost identical for the word mark, right? Old Country Store is gone. Out with the old and with the new. Out with the old and with nothing. So, at least from here. But one of the things you have to understand too is trying to embroider this new Cracker Barrel onto hats, onto shirts, things like that, much easier. Make signs out of it, see it from a distance, much easier. And maybe that negative space is so that you see that all that yellow from a distance as you're driving down the road looking for something to eat. You have that bright yellow and red are the hungry colors, by the way. You see a lot of fast food uses yellow and red, and they used it because it drives hunger, right? And then you got like a hamburger, you got mustard and ketchup on it, all that jazz. But this other one here, if you try to embroider those little barrel lines in that guy, that's a nightmare. So you're going to get a much more consistent result all across the board with something simple. Simple is not soulless. The logo almost never sits in isolation. It's usually accompanied with backgrounds and all the other visual identity. That's where the richness comes in. The logo itself does not have to be super complex. It depends on what you're going for. If you want that old-fashioned feel, a lot of times those logos, they were very busy. They had a lot going on. And there's been a push to basically build simpler, more iconic and easy to recognize logos, but a more rich visual identity. And there's all these other things that pull you into the brand. right? There are pros and cons about when, why, and how you would do this, is what I'm saying. All right, so just so you get an idea of, what we're seeing here, we have this Jaguar ad, and they're obviously comparing Cracker Barrel to Jaguar. Jaguar had this really bizarre ad campaign with these very colorful looking characters that are straight out of Teletubbies. And to be honest, I don't know what the heck they're trying to do here, but they got attention. If they were going for attention, they got attention. So it remains to be seen, I think, what they're ultimately going to do with that. I haven't caught up with it yet, but it's kind of weird. All right, so stock price, boom, big plummet. Yeah, I've seen a lot of that. We have a look of what the inside of the new restaurants looks like. They still have those old-fashioned wooden tables, which is kind of cool. It's lighter, it's brighter than I think what I remember. So I don't hate it, but torches and pitchforks are out nevertheless. Dropping the stock prices. Somebody decided to animate the cracker taking his barrel and getting out of there. Yeah, so that's a Cracker Barrel there. You know how sometimes in Kitchen Nightmares, when they go and redo a restaurant, and sometimes they just replace everything with really kind of crappy basic stuff? It's a modernization, not necessarily an upgrade. Building these stores, there's probably a lot of expense putting stonework in and everything, and they're trying to accommodate. Like I get that, I understand that. And then now we go down the rabbit hole. Like it's crazier and crazier. So let's take a look at the website here real quick now. Let's switch over. I got the old one pulled up on our good old friend archive.org. The old site, it's kind of narrow and there's kind of weird stuff going on up there. I do like these fonts though. These fonts are nice. I like them better than the new fonts. I don't think I've ever been to the Cracker Barrel website though. Not bad. All right, let's see what the new one looks like. And if you notice, I don't know if you can see it, but the favicon of the Cracker Barrel new one is that barrel, that yellow barrel, but it's flipped upward. So it is a barrel. They're using it like a barrel. And this is the new one. So look at these plates. These plates are kind of cool. That's the first thing I noticed. These are just like the white cafeteria style plates. And then I really hope they have these types of plates and they're serving the food on that, because that gives it that nostalgic feel. You could go in there. I don't know how many restaurants you can go into that are big mainstream restaurants and have plates like that. You have that old-fashioned China looking feel. Again, I don't really like this big, bold serif font that's screaming at you. This is like old country cooking, and it's screaming at your face. Look at this newsroom page. Welcome to the Cracker Barrel News. Right in your face. So the media kit has some logos. They still have the old ones. They haven't updated it. Now, Wendy's did something similar several years ago. I actually think this was an improvement. The old Wendy's logo has a lot of charm, old-fashioned hamburgers. The old Wendy is kind of scary. The new Wendy is friendlier. And in her collar, it looks like it says mom in there. You can see it more on the pure black and white logo, but that's kind of a nice little subtle touch in there, I thought. I think this is an improvement. I do. Obviously, people have opinions on it, but now it's just accepted. That's the Wendy's logo. You'd recognize it. Most people, they'd go, oh, Wendy, oh, it looked like that before. Now you're looking at the old one going, wow. Let's look at Pepsi. Now, there seems to be this trend where I didn't know it was called Brad's Drink. Did you know Pepsi was called Brad's Drink? What's the name of our company? Well, who made the drink? Well, Brad did. It's called Brad's Drink. So we go through here and we see all these iterations. Pepsi looked very Coca-Cola-ish, or does Coca-Cola look very Pepsi-ish? Chicken and the egg, which one came first? Probably an easy search to find that out. I don't know off the top of my head. Yeah, Pepsi starts to get this really kind of cool looking yin-yang wave thing going on for a long, long time. And then they switched to this horrifying looking thing down below that between 2008 and 2023. And when it came out, I remember seeing this and I lost it because I have never been able to unsee this from the original logo. It cracks me up so much. There's another one where someone drew a butt crack on there and it looks like someone bending over their butt crack coming out. And I think this person just ruined that logo for me. If you've ever had a chance to read the pitch of the Pepsi logo, that one, it's a piece of work. I'll say that. It is filled with so much branding BS. It's talking about the shape, the golden ratio, and the structure of the universe and how it all coalesces into this perfect logo. It is so over the top. They charged $1 million for that logo, which, man, props to them. The guys at Pepsi, they ate that up, ate it up. But as you can see, the 2023 logo, it's very much the colors and everything like the 1971 and 1987. I like the fact they brought that yin yang back. They're going back to more nostalgic times. They've made that move. The last brand I want to point out that has done this is Burger King. So Burger King had this kind of an abomination of a logo that came on. I can't remember when, but when I saw that thing come out, I was like, what are you doing with the swoosh? It's such like I think Taco Bell did something similar one. Like that swoosh, it's like fast and it's flying. It's fast food. You know, I get it. I understand that, but the iconic old Burger King one, did it feel dated at the time? Yes, it did. I understand what it did. But now they're going back to the nostalgia because all the kids like retro. Kids are playing. I got daughters who have vinyl players. I thought vinyls were out of business. I remember there was one more company that was actually producing vinyls still, and they were almost going out of business, and all of a sudden vinyls came back. But look, they got this old nostalgic look and feel to it. The Burger King crowns, all that jazz. They even got the 70s fonts on there. It looks good. And this is a great example. And that new Burger King logo looks pretty darn close to the original one. It's probably a little different, maybe some updates, but that is an iconic look, right? Way better than this red, yellow, blue one over here. And yeah, so great job. Very impressive what they've done. So there's a lot of different reasons why you would want to do these types of things. A lot of it has to do with listening to your customers, trying to be maybe a little playful with your customers, going after new audiences. A lot of these things are not done just willy-nilly. There's a lot of thought that goes into it. And sometimes the decisions behind certain things aren't very obvious. It'll take some time to see what they do with it. And even then, people may still hate it. They may love it. We'll see. Hey, thanks for sticking around and taking a look at this Cracker Barrel logo scandal that's going on, and as well as a lot of these other logos too. So it's pretty interesting. It's fascinating. And yeah, if you enjoyed this episode, feel free to leave your comments down below. Tell me what you think about this new Cracker Barrel logo. Do you miss the old Cracker in the Barrel? Or do you like the new look? Have you been into one of these new locations and seen what it's like? How does it compare with the other ones? What about some of these other logos? You got any thoughts, or maybe even some that I haven't mentioned? There's a ton of them. So any stories or feedback or things like that, questions, comments, leave it below. And we'll see you on the next episode, Brand or Die.